And welcome. Oh my God. I gotta pause. Think I gotta. Oh my Lord. Wow. McGregor is just tearing up Mayweather here, and Canada's just eating it up right here, folks. Welcome to the 1650 PWAM CWF Mid Atlantic pre-show, I guess you would call this, for Absolute Justice. Johnny P, John Philip Pavage, is going to be joining us here in about maybe 10 minutes. Man, look good in the Toronto gear. You look like a fucking 16-year-old breakdancer, just like he told you, you fucking mook. What the fuck? Oh man, we are one step away from Connor just calling him the N-word, I think. Jesus Christ. I mean, I don't want to see that happen, obviously. That shouldn't happen. But God damn, he's tearing his ass up on the mic. He tore him up yesterday. He's tearing him up today. Mayweather just ain't used to this. Mayweather just ain't used to getting called out by the best in the world, man. And Triple H could just sit there and come out with it and say, hey, Raw will give you a stage. They just look at the stage that they're on and how many people are showing up. That's more people than show up to SmackDown. Good Lord. Now everybody's thinking, oh, this is going to be the one to bring MMA to the forefront. This is going to be the one to bring combat sports to the forefront. No, I'm sorry. What's up, Jonathan? I'm not going to get to when I saw it live. I will tell you that every match was good because we are in a no-spoiler zone tonight. I will say, as far as Mayweather and McGregor goes, I'm just a casual fan. We have a guy on 1650 AC who is, without a doubt, the best when it comes to MMA analysis and everything. He's going to tell it to you like it is. He doesn't fluff things up. I'm sure he's going to have a lot to say about these press conferences. But man, can you imagine if they were allowed to cut these kind of promos in WWE? Vince would have a heart attack if somebody came out there and dropped the F word. And this is airing live on Fox Sports. Yes, it's FS2, but golly. Man, I had to turn it off because if not, I was going to forget about this whole show and just concentrate on that. But as a casual fan, I got to tell you guys, and we'll get to CWF here in a minute. We're also going to get to a lot of things as far as wrestling news goes here within the next hour and a half. But as a casual MMA fan and a guy who really does not watch boxing, I'm looking forward to this. I'm not going to pay the $100 for it. I'm probably going to stream it or some shit. But I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. McGregor's winning as far as the trash talk goes, but as far as it don't matter what the talk is. It matters what you do when you get in that ring. When that bell rings, that's what matters. Wrestling's a little bit different because yes, the promos and everything hype up the fight, but it's all about what happens in that ring. And pro wrestling's that way to a certain extent because there's people out there who could talk their ass off and then could, work crap in the ring and still and still come out on top as if they were the best in the world. Look at Hogan all those years. Look at Cena, for crying out loud. I will answer this question by John, though. My favorite matches when I saw it live, obviously Trevor Lee and Nick was good. And I really liked the four-way tag match that we're going to see tonight. I do have Johnny P, John Philip Havage, joining us in about 8 minutes. Let me just go ahead and put this out here. Oh, come on. Come on, Twitter. Cooperate with me here. So we will have Johnny P on here in just a few moments. Do I dare ask him what I want to ask him? I don't know. I might shy off a little bit, or we'll keep it CWF based. But man, what a show! That press conference. I woke up and that's the first thing that AC was tweeting about. It's the first thing that the world was tweeting about, man. So, and like I said, WWE's not going to put that in their ring. Those two show up on Monday Night Raw, they're going to take him off the air. I love how Triple H is like, we got live microphones on Monday Night Raw. No, you don't. Not like that. Anyway, we're going to be joined here in about 10 minutes here, or 5 minutes here, by Johnny P. We do have a full rundown on what we're going to see here tonight. Grant was cool enough to go ahead and send me a run sheet, if you will, which is basically what the YouTube description is going to be. Mitch Connor versus the Rising Generation League champion Kane Justice. Jacob Hammery. Oh man, I can't even pronounce this guy's last name. Jacob Hammermeyer versus Ultra J champion Chet Sterling. Ethan Alexander Sharp and Otto Schwanz, risking only Otto's in-ring career, versus him and Sis, risking their individual masks, versus the Sandwich Squad, Aaron Biggs and Mecha Mercenary, risking no more tag team title shots for 1 full year, versus the Dawsons, who are the Mid-Atlantic Tag Team Champions, and they're risking their titles, of course, in a fatal 4-way everything to lose match. Your worldwide television champion, Eric Andrews, is going to be going up against a random draw. Time, which is the Dirty Daddy and Snooty Fox, they're going to be going up against Roy Wilkins and a mystery partner. And Nick Richards versus the Mid-Atlantic Heavyweight Champion Trevor Lee in a no DQ match. There are some other things I will say and more are going to be on this show. Let me go ahead here and tell you guys that we will be doing the post show. Me and Jeff Edwards will be doing the after show tonight at 11:30. So about a half an hour after the show ends, or about a half an hour. So the show goes up at 9. So about 2.5 hours after the show's posted, we are going to be going live and doing our after show. We're going to ask Jeff what he thought about last week's show, which is the Modern Vintage show, which I have to say, looking back on that crowd chanting CWF at the end of that thing or during that thing told me something. That's all I'm going to say. I still think that was rather peculiar. But yeah, so we got a loaded thing to talk about tonight, and after Johnny P gets off here and after we run down this card a little bit tonight, we're going to discuss the latest news in pro wrestling, not just CWF here tonight. We're going to talk about the Paige Alberto Del Rio situation. Jeff Jarrett had a conference call today. There's so much happening. You know, Rebby Sky went off again against Anthem in regards to the Broken Universe. We're going to get into that. So much happening in the last 24 hours as far as the world of pro wrestling goes, and it's only going to get better with CWF. CWF is going to be making a lot of waves tonight, I have a feeling. But we're glad you're joining us here for the pre-show. Let's go ahead here, and we're going to wait a few more moments before we call Johnny P. We want to remind you that if hop in our chat room, it's on YouTube, and we will have a little bit of a discussion there. I got to tell you, I'm looking forward to Absolute Justice. I'm very much looking forward to Absolute Justice being released tonight. I want to see what it's like with commentary. I was there live, so you'll get my live versus YouTube perspective tonight on the after show. The pre-show here is no spoilers, kind of, because there's people who only watch the YouTube show. Jeff is not the only one. Follow us on Twitter. We are at 1650 PWAM is the official network page there. Help us reach 1,000 subscribers. When we reach 1,000 subscribers, we could do a super chat, which means a lot of interesting things can happen in our chat room. So follow us on Twitter at 1650 PWAM and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Once we hit 1,000 subscribers, we could do super chat, and we could finally change the name of the network. Where we'll make it youtube.com/1650 PWAM. And also, we're trying to get. You know, we're thinking about stuff in the future as far as people have asked us about merchandise. We're going to be meeting about that here shortly. Us here at the network are. Follow us on Twitter. I'm at Joe Pillar to Post if you want to follow me individually, but I highly recommend just follow the network. Jeff Edwards is at Blading for Truth. Follow him there. AC, who is our MMA, pro wrestling, boxing guy. He does a bit of everything. He's at AC Cooldown. Follow him there. And then Johnny P. We put Johnny P's Twitter handle up because he's going to be on with us here in about 2 minutes. So let me see if we can go ahead and call Johnny P here. Let me see if it's okay to call. Give me one moment here. Let me shoot old Johnny P a message. Yeah, I want to. I asked Grant. I says I'm thinking about doing this pre-show. Can you send me like a match listing, a card, and He sent one over, so thank you very much, Grant, for sending that along. We will not have any guests tonight on the after show. I want to thank Grant Sawyer so much for filling in last week. Okay, John says we're good. All right, let's call him. Let's get old Johnny P on the phone.
Hey, guys.
Hey, John, what's going on?
Good. I'm
We're
all right.
we're live right now. Jeff isn't on with me. He's usually on just for the after show. So you're stuck with just me, man. How are things going?
Oh, good. I got a break from editing because you're calling me.
Okay.
So
I have to
I
ask.
still have to do everything. It's just that I get to pace myself better. I guess.
I have to ask because you mentioned it.
Yeah.
What are you editing?
There will I'm doing what I can say. Yeah. Let me rephrase.
Yeah.
it.
What can you
What
say?
What I can say right now, and this is probably more me than like Grant or Stutzy, but there's a certain feel to all these things. So I shot a project when I was down there, and actually shot more than one. But the main project is something a little bit bigger that I kind of did, sort of like loosely in conjunction. I have such a good relationship with Grant and Stutzy that it was just kind of like I was coming down. There was a bunch of things that I kind of wanted to do for the promotion. There were a lot of scheduling issues. So I was real bummed out, and we knocked around an idea, and when I was about 30 minutes out, Brad texted me and said, like, hey, I want you to think about this. How would you feel if do you care about knowing match outcomes if you, basically, like, if you do this project, I'll have to tell you, what's going to happen for a specific match.
Right.
And by the time I got there, I was like, well, yeah, because I had already kind of decided that the night before when we were talking about a different idea. It's the same thing as when I did the ECW doc and I had to know certain things for the reunion to shoot that part. So I was just like, well, yeah, if I'm not going to be sitting in my seat anyway, like, then I can't, like, just watch as a fan. So then my professional brain gets together, and I really hate not knowing things when I'm trying to produce something and, the carpet gets pulled from you. And wrestling specifically is kind of a mess for that.
Right.
So I said, yeah. And I went to his house and sat down and we talked. And so I shot a project for them. And we're hoping to be able to now announce that like a joint thing, complete with like a little video teaser of it, hopefully next week.
Ooh.
And that really going to come down to like timing for me, but also my creative partner, my lifelong creative partner, Kev Kiernan, is the way more technically gifted of the two of us. So he would be handling like color corrections and sound editing for stuff like that. And so he's actually, he runs a theater in the Lehigh Valley that's pretty active. So he can't exactly just dip out on his real job to do stuff for us, So if I can get stuff done and get it to him, and then he has the time, I was told yesterday when I pitched, like, hey, since you, said you wanted to help with this, this, and this on that project, can you do this? And he said, maybe. He said it all depended on probably how Sunday, looks, because you have to do these things ahead. I basically would have to have things to Grant probably Monday for it to have any involvement in the show itself.
Right.
And after that, it's like something separate, So it's really that. So I'm sorry to be so vague about the whole thing.
I have to ask.
I shot a long-form project. I shot a short form thing because originally I had a bunch of short-form ideas that I wanted to do to help the company out, production-wise. Unfortunately, because of all these scheduling issues, it worked out great because the bigger project is something that's like I'm really at home with. But I only got to shoot one of those things, and that's on the back burner at the moment. And I also did, and I don't think anybody really knows about this yet, I also did like a podcast series.
Really?
Yeah, and I haven't sat down to, because I made that special this week that dropped yesterday. I haven't had the chance to sit down and kind of sound edit that and put that together. But I'm affiliated with some people who are very prominent in podcasting for years and have podcasted about CWF in specific on their network. And so it's going to be thrown on there. It's just me getting it to them.
Gotcha.
So it's probably going to be like 4 episodes, I think.
Is
3
it
or 4.
Is it the same people? Is it Dylan who does the Making Towns podcast and all them? Because they've done CWF stuff before.
No, and I love that's Wrestling with Words, and I love those guys, but I haven't been in touch with them lately. And Spence, who actually Making Towns is one of the many steps that turned me on to CWF.
Right.
And Spence unfortunately was sick and wasn't at the show, so I haven't talked to any of those guys. I think Bryant is the main guy that runs that. No, it would be I could just say it's on me. If it doesn't happen, it's on me, because they're awesome with me. But it's a Place to Be Nation, specifically the PWO feed. I did a lot of stuff with them, even I think before I did, I finally put out the Barbed Wire City documentary.
Gotcha. I will say, man, I'm all for people getting into podcasting, but we are the only ones. I'm gonna do a shameless plug here. We are the only ones that do it live each and every week, right here on Wednesdays. So I don't think there's anybody else doing a live right after it airs perspective of this show.
I think we'd know about it if there was. So yeah, you staked out that claim.
That's right. And if anybody comes along and does start doing one, well, then we can say that we're the first. And I'm glad everybody enjoys it and listens to it. I'm glad you pop into the chat room every week. Thank you so much for doing that. Let's talk about Absolute Justice here. Grant was kind enough to send me a match card for this. Mm-hmm. While I'm pulling this up,
thank you. Jonathan
Miller wants to know why do you pick on Kane if he gave you your best video?
John's a Kane super fan.
Right.
A great supporter of CWF. I love Kane, except when I don't love Kane and when he doesn't love me. We're buddies, sort of.
Kane's awesome. I gotta be honest with you. We had him on the show a few weeks back. He's an awesome guy. And then after Absolute Justice, just as he said he was outside shaking hands, telling people have a safe ride home. And I said hi to him, introduced myself, and he's like, "Dude, I had the most fun ever." He's like, "I could do that for hours." So Kane is awesome.
Yeah.
We have Mitch Connor going up against Rising Generation League champion Kane Justice tonight. Speaking of Kane, he's the first match on the show. I noticed that you were not doing a whole lot. I kept looking around for the first few matches. I kept looking around for you because I was like, he's got to be in the crowd. He said he was coming down. And I said, he's been in North Carolina since Wednesday. He's got to be coming down here. And then I didn't see you. And then finally when I saw... I'll just say this. When I saw you up in the crow's nest with a certain individual, I was like, I put 2 and 2 together. And then I started getting excited because I knew what was happening.
Yeah, I wonder. I guess it didn't dawn on me, I guess some people, there's only so many people in the building, and even less of that percentage are like you that, even know who I am. So I guess some people did see me up there. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for your discreetness.
I didn't see you. I saw the individual that you were talking to, and then I saw your bald head stick out from the other side of the table, and I was like, it's happening. Yay, he's doing something.
Yeah. Okay.
So you've seen it as far as the video form goes because you were not able to watch all the matches. I think when I talked to you during intermission, you were like, I get to see the next match, and that's going to be it.
Yeah, it was such a kick in the balls. I did buy a seat because initially I was coming down to do stuff during the week and then I was just going to watch the show. And so I actually did, I don't know if you noticed, but you already said, I sat for the match right after intermission, which is right before the main event. And I just, at that point, said, the hell with it, and I just filmed from my seat. But I had a dead center seat. I had the best seat. And I couldn't sit in there except for... And then some woman sat next to Bruce Mitchell, and we've been teasing each other ever since about this. So
I got to
ask you. She, half stole my seat periodically.
And if I... And this is not a knock against Katie, but if I know Katie, you didn't get your money back.
Oh, I never asked. I'm trying to
I
think
know.
if I even saw Katie after that.
I know. I'm just picking with you. I have a
I love Katie, by the way.
I have a
I
nickname
love
for
Katie. She's so good to me.
I have a nickname for Katie that I think that she came up with one day, and I just kept rolling with it. She's the queen of no comps, because you ain't getting into that show free. I
No,
mean,
good. You should pay for it.
exactly. But having seen this, can you, without spoiling who wins, what were your thoughts on this match, having seen it on tape as opposed to seeing it live?
Well, I wasn't shooting in the traditional sense, like I ended up doing the next day for the Dynamite Cup, which was cool because I hadn't shot anything ringside in any manner since early 2012, I think. And even then, it was more documentary stuff.
Right.
So like I was running around just getting different shots because I don't have to worry about getting a shot for Grant in that context. You know. I've seen only, here's the sad thing, is I've had a copy of Absolute Justice because of what I'm doing with them, to kind of intermix into what I'm going to be doing for my bigger project. I have only watched the main event and that one match we just said. I'm actually going to rush home and watch the rest of the show tonight.
All right.
So like everything is scattered. Like I have seen that match. I was actually shocked when I finally sat down and watched it earlier today, like how rough. I liked it more than I liked it when I watched it live because I was worried about 18 other things. And it's an opening match, and sometimes crowds don't react to like the grapple stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like really impressed with the mat work / sub work, especially by Kane. I like this whole thing of like Kane moving away from the RGL guys and getting to work a lot of that.
Yeah, he's doing the
legend. That's really going to increase his skill level.
He's kind of doing the legend killer gimmick right now, from what I've been seeing. You know, and I don't know if I agree with it, but it's like, to me, it's almost as if he's got to lose that title before he moves up. I mean, that's traditional wrestling booking. And then the other half of me's going, well, he has the title while he's moving up, so maybe it's a good thing, you know. But it's very, very shades of gray how they're booking Kane Justice right now, because he is on this meteoric rise, kind of. Like, he's probably one of, if not the best worker in that company right now, that is constantly there almost every single show. So, I mean, I'm kind of leery of how they're booking him, but I have faith in Stutzy and the powers that be that they're not going to treat it, they're not going to mishandle it. I have to have faith in these guys. I don't have faith in what WWE and most bookers do, but I have faith in Stutzy. So.
Well, I have friends that would disagree with what I'm about to say, but like I cut them a lot of slack, not because I like them, but because CWS, like, within the world that they build, I find that they're very coherent for the most part. Certainly they make missteps here and there, but like Kane is so young within that world and within his own progression as a professional wrestler that I don't stress too much over like, the specifics of, oh, well, now he's up more with the big boys and he's not wrestling the RGL championship matches as much. I think the real test for him comes within the next 6 months to 18 months. Really, like, for me, it starts with whatever they got for him at Battlecade, and then after that, which is, like, I realize that that's a softer scale than I think a lot of us would put towards, like, WWE, but it's also a very different world. It's a very DIY world. It's a smaller promotion. I think they make up for anything within matches or within, match, not necessarily match quality, but like story of each individual match. They cover it well with announcing and with booking. So, I mean, they got to get guys ready because, hey, who knows how long top guys are going to be there. It's like not like they have contracts.
I mean, with the way Impact Wrestling is going, I've said it time and time again. It seems like here for the better part of 2016, especially, they put all their eggs in Trevor Lee's basket. And I'm sitting here towards the end of that year going, TNA is starting to use him more. Now it's GFW. Now they're a little bit more serious with contracts and everything. And you're right. they have to start preparing these guys because you don't know how long, Trevor's going to be there. You don't know how long people are going to stay healthy. You don't know how long people are going to retire. I mean, they lost Ray Kandrak and Jesse Adler within the last year or so, and Jesse Adler was on his way up. I mean, Jesse Adler was the one that kind of had the rocket strapped to him. So I definitely see what you're saying.
That's the point. When you're dealing with like kids and weekend warriors in a lot of cases, you're really making chicken salad out of chicken shit in some cases.
Mm-hmm.
Not because those guys don't have any talent, but because a lot of them are really like. We all love Kane. Kane's probably not hit his 50th match as a professional yet.
No.
Jesse Adler's somebody who went away to school, and ended up finding other interests within his life. A lot of these guys are really young. I mean, Trevor started when he was practically a baby. So did Nick. Kane, it's weird. You look at Kane and you think he's a young boy and Trevor's the vet, and the age separation is like 2 or 3 years.
That's what kills me about this is that these kids are people just like you and me that grew up watching that Attitude Era, watching ECW, and even Brad Stutz to a certain extent as a booker. If you want to clump him into this whole thing, Brad Stutz is around my age. I mean, around mine and yours age. So it's interesting seeing people.
A lot of these kids are younger.
Yeah.
Like that's the funny thing is we grew up, we were teens watching that, but somebody like Trevor wasn't. He was a kid.
I mean, Kane Justice is only 21. He's 21. Yeah. I feel like such an old man when I was interviewing him because here I am 32. Mm-hmm. He was born post-Attitude Era. So, or mid-Attitude Era, at least by the time he was able to actually start watching wrestling to enough to where he understood what it was and everything. It had to have been, 2001, 2002 maybe?
Maybe.
That's maybe.
But you know what? He's a real student, though, because I'm always bugging him, you should watch this, or he's always like, hey, what do you know about this? He's somebody who goes back and seeks out footage and sees what he likes and doesn't and what, something that gives him some sort of inspiration, whether it be a move or mannerisms or just facial expressions, and he's a sponge. He's going to be something really special.
Oh, yeah. I just wish he would work more places than CWF, but I don't know if he's quite, like you said, I don't know if he's quite ready for that yet. So, but it's just a matter of he'll do it when he's ready,
Yeah, he's doing it the smart way.
The second match on this card here is I don't remember. I don't honestly, all due respect to Chet Sterling, I don't remember this match taking place. It's Jacob. Help me on this. You may know it.
I think it's Hammermeyer.
Hammermeyer versus Chet Sterling?
Yeah.
Refresh me on this. I don't know if you've seen it yet. You said you probably haven't seen it yet, but I don't remember this match taking place. I remember Chet Sterling having a really good match here, but I don't remember.
Jacob did a cool promo at the beginning. Very character-driven.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Now I remember this guy. Okay.
It was kind of like, weirdly, even though it's one of my pet peeves, it worked for this match because it was basically Jacob Hammermeyer wearing the vest and having some sideburns and the tie with the bare chest and healing on Chet wearing that stuff, and then Chet wears it and comes out. And then within the body of the match, Chet is, a more mature, polished presentation. Without spoiling anything, the one thing I will say is that I know Chet injured himself during the match when he tried to pull off a move. It was a mistimed thing. That's what really sticks out to me because I remember watching it going like, ow, that landing hurt.
And from what I remember about Jacob's promo, it was a good promo, and I actually was impressed by the mic skills of Jacob now that I'm remembering it. But yeah, this match right here, I'm going to tell you guys, Chet is growing on me. I'm not a huge Chet Sterling fan yet. I'm not the guy who's going to be buying the merchandise and wearing ties and everything like some fans do to matches, but it's growing on me. He's growing on me. And I've been going to those shows for about 2.5 years now.
Right.
Ethan Alexander Sharp and Otto Schwanz versus him and Sis versus the Sandwich Squad versus the Dawsons. Everybody's got something on the line here. All I'm going to say is the start of this match. This was the match that I think finally got that crowd warmed up and finally got that crowd to pay attention. I love this match, and I love the ending. Um, I'm curious to see if somebody cut a promo before the event even started, and I'm curious to see if they put that on the show. If you follow
Yeah,
what I'm saying.
I, I don't. I caught that because I filmed some of it because I was just running around trying to get a lot of B-roll.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Grant was filming it, so yeah, I would imagine that it'll play into something. If not this show. Again, like I have the show. I'm gonna watch it with you though. You meaning everybody else. So I didn't sweep through to see what was on it. I don't know where they're putting everything.
What happens before the show started with a certain individual caught me by surprise because I was like, "Whoa, we don't see much of you. What are you doing?"
It's an interesting development that you should. I mean, cheap plug for my friend GWF. You should, if you're listening to the show, you should go watch it. That's an interesting tease and an interesting segment, honestly.
Okay.
My guess is it was a time thing because they like to keep things tight, and plus, the main staff had to pile into a van and drive overnight to Indiana, so they probably didn't want to elongate the show. And this was as good as they probably figured. Like, we don't need massive crowd reactions, but if we get the people in the building, especially like that row with the Harris family up front, if we get them, involved in some way, that's something.
Grant is in our chat room, and Grant says the William L. Cross promo was already put on YouTube along with the dark match. So I guess since they already put it out there, we could go ahead and say it. Cross comes out and says, "Hey, I've been away for a while. I was a manager, and I did some pretty dirty things, but now I'm back. And people better start paying attention because people are going to choose to follow me this time." And very kind of cryptic promo from Cross, but I actually liked it. And I was like, I'm curious to see where they're going with it. It's, we talk on 1650 so much about how this business does not have enough factions, like old school factions. So it's curious to see. Maybe we're going to get some factions in CWF now. This match, to me, though, the tag match has a surprising ending. And based off of a guest that we had on our show a couple weeks ago, it's just going to line right up with it. And I invite you guys to go back to the archives and listen to the interview that we did with that individual. They will be, you'll know who it is by the end of the night. I'm going to go ahead and I don't know how much I should get into the Eric Andrews match because, quite frankly, I don't want to spoil it at all. I'll just say from what I remember of it, it was good. It was shocking. There was a couple other things on this that happened in between this that I don't want to give away here. And then we got Showtime and Dirty Daddy Dirty Daddy and Snooty Fox versus Roy Wilkins and a mystery partner. Again, I'm not going to spoil who the mystery partner is. I'll just say some interesting things took place in this one. And then we'll get to the main event here. Nick Richards versus Trevor Lee. No DQ.
Oh, hold on. You skipped over the one match I sat front row for.
What's that?
Because I don't have a deep knowledge base of the other matches that you listed. I saw pieces. I don't even remember Eric Andrews' match, so I'm so glad you didn't throw to me. But I will say C.W. Anderson versus Smith Garrett.
Okay. They didn't put that in the match listing because I guess it's kind of a spoiler as to what happens earlier in the show. But, yeah, those two go at it.
Oh, then, wow. Then, I apologize. I didn't know that was the case because I missed that being a spoiler.
Yeah.
So I won't, obviously I'm not going to say the ending, but, look, you got to see that match. That's a really good,
that is a really good match.
I was blown away getting footage of Smith selling, both verbally and facially, is so good.
I will tell you this,
I know
though.
C.W. Anderson's been controversial with some people liking and not liking his matches, and I've gone down the middle. I think I liked one, and I wasn't as in love with another one. But it's a neat style change, and he's so crisp at what he does. I think if you love different styles, then you can embrace C.W. Anderson versus Smith Garrett very easily.
Grant says it wasn't in the listing because of the spoiler. Thanks, John.
I'm sorry, dude.
It's okay.
No,
it's
I'm a
okay.
jerk.
No, man, you're fine. I want to say that match in particular for me, for Smith, I don't like the way it was booked, and it's kind of like throwing a monkey wrench in a storyline that's already going on, and I just did not like it. I don't like. I mean, Smith. I'll be honest with you. Smith was originally supposed to take on Joshua Cutcha, or not Joshua Cutcha, Osiris, and obviously now we know this doesn't happen. And I was kind of.
Right.
I've been critical of the Osiris Smith Garrett build, and it just kind of proves me right here when they did this.
Well, here's the thing. I actually forgot to even ask about that. Yeah, well, here's the thing. Is like, Osiris isn't a full-time wrestler.
Right.
He's got like a real life and a real job that does well for him. And Smith, I mean, Smith has a real job too, I believe, but he's more full-time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm sure something happened. I didn't ask after the fact because my head was spinning. But I assumed right away, like, oh, real life, something,
Yeah.
For Stutzy, I was with him for a good portion of Saturday, and I know that he was, like, on the phone. He'll tell you, something always happens. That's the thing when you don't have guys, A, under contract, and B, it's like a neat world you're building, but his job in some ways is even tougher than, a much bigger company, like even a PWG or an ROH, because you have to make a lot of switch-ins and switch-outs. It's not this. They're not making $1 million to be there. They're doing it because they love working there. So it's tough.
Right. I mean, I'll just say that, yeah, shit happens, and maybe they could have done something different with Smith than put him in the spot that they put him in, because he went from let's be honest here, if the match had taken place, it probably, in the whole booking of things, probably would have been the first or second match on the show, to being thrust into a semi-main event or a big-time storyline of the company, and it's like, okay, how does he all of a sudden get to be put here? It just didn't make sense to me, and still doesn't make sense to me. I'm curious to see how they book themselves out of this, or further this, but that's
commentary goes a long way.
Yeah.
Commentary goes a long way. And since I screwed up and spoiled something, I do want to reiterate, in all seriousness, the jokes aside, because I do feel bad. But seriously, even if you were like, you knew the match happened and you were like, whatever. Seriously, it was really good. It was really good.
It was. I'll just put it to you this way: it's probably the best Smith Garrett match I've ever seen live. I'll put it to you that way.
Really? I'm relatively high on Smith, and I thought this was excellent.
I mean, it's just.
What I mean is, I'm saying that as somebody who genuinely does enjoy the guy.
I'm. See, you know these guys kind of on a personal level. I don't. So it's different.
I was introduced very briefly to Smith a couple months ago, but I don't know him personally.
But I mean,
so
for me, it's like he's a very. I don't know how to describe Smith Garrett to somebody. If somebody was to ask me, like, if Jeff Edwards, who is relatively new to the product, were to ask me, who is Smith Garrett? What does he stand for? What's his character? He's Smith Garrett. What does that mean? I couldn't tell you.
I don't want to say that he's Mr. CWS, but he's definitely he's a version of a company babyface.
Yeah.
Like the one thing that I love about them is that I almost, I've never had the time or the mental organization to sit down, but I would love to like write an article, called like, the favored sons of Gibsonville or something like that, because their babyface contingent and the differentiations between each guy is like really underrated.
I think the problem with Smith.
I
think the problem with Smith is that he's too much of a white meat babyface for me. In this era, he's too. Okay. He's one step away from having white boots and white trunks, and that kind
fair,
of.
But
go ahead.
He's filling a slot.
Yeah.
I think he fills a slot, and I don't just mean that in like just trying to say the glass is half full. He really grew on me. He's charismatic. He cuts a very good promo. He's more than competent in the ring. It's true that he's very super white meat, but you can do a lot with that as a booker over time if the feeling strikes Stutzy and the timing is right, which is what good. And that's something they always say to me. If I go like, "Hey, have you ever thought this?" They're like, "Well, if the timing's right, we would do something like that." that shows like a really discipline. That's the biggest thing about CWF that I love, is that in an era where everybody, I mean, wrestling fans and wrestling promoters are like crackheads. Like they just want more and more and more, and they want it immediately. Like, I'm glad that the world doesn't know who Kane is yet, so he can progress. Because that's something I worried about with Matt Riddle, is that, like, from the jump, everybody knew who Matt was. And he was, like, a year in, and everybody's like, he's the next great thing.
Yeah.
So if people get used to him, my worry by the end of the year is that he's progressing even more, and people aren't paying attention because, oh, I already saw him against everybody I wanted to see him against, whatever. And that's not fair to him. It's just that we have everything at our fingertips now.
Mm-hmm.
So to bring it back in summation, I think Smith gives them something important. It's not necessarily everything that you want or that I want, but it fills a role that is just under the main event that could be something even bigger than that.
I look at it this way.
I'd rather have a competent guy.
The majority...
I'm happy that...
He is a company guy.
Yeah.
And despite what I think, the majority of the people in that building accepted his spot at this I call it a pay-per-view, but at this Supercard show, they liked it, they accepted it, and they told the majority of the people told the higher-ups at CWF, okay, we like where you're going with this guy. And as long as the majority of the people are over with it and accept it, by all means run with it. They're not, in the grand scheme of things, what one fan, me, says doesn't really matter to them, at the end of the day. They're going to go where they want to go because it draws them money,
Well, and it's not because they don't care either. It's just that one thing we all have to remember, especially, when you talk about this more, when it's for you and for me, it's like something in my life where I drive how many hours and I participate in different ways on the periphery. Or you do an audio show about it live every week. It obviously is something we think about more than the average person.
Right.
So something that I have to always tell myself, and thankfully, and I couldn't do this until I was in my 30s, just because I don't like something, you got to see how people react. Like, I've never liked Randy Orton. Because I'm old enough, to me, I was like, well, who's this new... He's been around for like 15 years, and he's still this new pretender in my head. I think he always will be because he doesn't fulfill anything for me. But I've gone to house shows, like sizable ones. Like in Allentown, they built an arena, and their first show I went to, he was in the main event. The reaction of the rank and file fans is the people who just watch it on TV and they don't really participate in any other way. They see him as a star. So I think we always have to keep in mind, like, well, how do the people feel about these guys?
Mm-hmm.
'Cause, like, and I'm not trying to rag on this guy because I think he's got massive potential and he's had hot crowds. But when Kane goes out there in an opening match and he doesn't necessarily get the crowd heat, that doesn't mean that Kane's not excellent or that his character's not excellent. It's early in the show, and sometimes it strikes people. He was in the opening match at Battlecade, and people were going nuts for that match.
Yeah, because the build up to that match and the storyline of that match and the fact that I think everybody knew that Kane was winning the title that night made it even that more, even the casual fan knew with that build up, Kane was going over that night at Battlecade. I mean, even, I'm sitting there going, okay, I'm just wondering how it's going to end. Is it going to end with Dirty tapping out? And sure enough, it did. So, I know you're pressed for time, but I do want to get into this. You talk about white meat baby faces and somebody who is, the sons of Gibsonville, as you put it. There is no more person in that spot than Trevor Lee. And for the past few weeks, I've been championing that Trevor Lee has been booked as a damn heel in a good way. I like it. Grant says no one knew Kane was winning the title. Yeah, Kane didn't even know he was winning the title that night if you go back and listen to our interview, but as I got the sense that he was. But in getting back to Trevor here, the way they booked him up against Nick Richards here is so heelish. And it's like, you're not ready. I mean, you go into... here we are seeing Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor in press conferences, and this isn't even on the same level as them, but you kind of get like that kind of aspect of, you're not ready to take me on. You're from another world. You're not ready yet. And Trevor has been a dick. It's a breath of fresh air. But anyway, go ahead. What are your thoughts on this one?
Well, first of all, I prefer the term. I'm half joking, but I am going to get into this. I prefer the term subtle heel And what I mean by that is, like, yeah, you're right. He's been acting heelish, but he's still a babyface, and I think it shows. To me, I liked it because it showed the versatility.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that the little comments that I got to shoot this ringside, which was an amazing treat for me. But the comments were picked up by Grant, and he's just that whole, like, Nick's big night, and he's so smug about it, and it totally fits into the way that he's been portrayed on TV with this. He's not a heel, and he's not a bad guy. He didn't attack Nick. And there's this beautiful story of, like, Nick's the Tommy Dreamer and the underdog guy who's always been, like, 1A. He's never been 1. And he doesn't wrestle the style that's in vogue right now. In a weird way, he's kind of this throwback to a Tommy Dreamer, which is bizarre to me to see, like, these two interacting. It's like two worlds colliding.
Yeah.
But I loved it because it wasn't as though at any point you went like, well, Trevor Lee's a scumbag. This is a heel turn. You're not walking out of this feeling that way. I don't think.
But I did get the
without giving away
feeling,
anything, but like
I mean,
the dynamic is there.
Even watching your video package, when Nick Richards is down, and you think he's going to help Nick up, and instead he just raises the title. It did not come up on the audio, but I yelled out, "Come on, Trevor, don't be a dick."
and he says, you're still not ready, Nick, or something.
Yeah,
like
he goes,
that.
"You're still not ready.
Yeah.
You're still not ready." He goes, "Here I am." It's like, here I am having to pick you up. You're still not ready. But to me, it came off live as just a total dick move. And even the promos that Lee's been cutting, total dick promos against this guy. It's almost as if I've reached a spot and now my head's getting too big, is the way it came off to me. I'm the big dog now. It's almost Roman Reigns-esque. This is my yard, and you all love me. It's very, very dick promos, and you're just sitting there going, okay, either they're going to turn him, or something's going to happen during this match that's going to make it all better, and we'll leave it up to the fans to see what exactly happens here. But I want to know what it was like for you going back and getting all this old footage. Kudos to you, man. While we got you here, kudos to you, because that video right there, just with the music, you know how to WWE and everybody always gets kudos because they got 15 people at a time working on a 30-minute video. There's one guy.
I wish there were 15 minutes.
There's one guy.
Yeah, I was scrambling Sunday to do this and bothering Grant, like, do you have a better copy of this? Or do you have this? And so I'm glad that it came off and people are happy, because I was, so stretching myself thin. And even Grant said, I didn't think you were going to do that much. So here's my main bullet points on these things. One, I'm so happy to be, I always say this, and I mean it genuinely, like, I'm not under contract to these guys. I just love CWF. I love the people. I think the world of Grant and Stutzy, first and foremost, and then all the way down the line. I'm glad that they let me, participate, because I'm a big fan, and thankfully I have a talent where, when you watch things, for years I'd watch something and go like, oh, I wish they would have done this, or I wish they would have done that.
Yeah.
I get the opportunity to bother them and go, hey, would you mind if I did this? Because and I'm always careful to clear it with them. And they're very trusting and very good to me, but I always try to clear it with them. For me, I won't lie, I'm an emotional guy. I'm just a shy under Ric Flair. So if I can get myself emotional, I know that I can capture some other people. And my biggest goal and the thing that gives me adrenaline is being able to make something that makes me emotional, and I hope capture something that gets other people involved. If I can take what I feel and give it to them, that's a win, and that's a big thing to me. So I was happy to do it, and I hope everybody watches that special, because it really does show point number 2, which is that, like, this is like a real life thing. It's not just a match, and that's something I love about CWF is the detail work and the willingness to work in real life stuff, because these guys have kind of grown up around each other. Trevor started after Nick, but they were both teenagers, and then Trevor hit this point where he just accelerated to the effing moon.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's one thing
Nick's been another company guy and another workman, and somebody who goes about it in his own way, and he doesn't quite have the skill or the athleticism that Trevor does, but he makes up for it in other ways, and those ways are valid. But he's got to prove that to Trevor, not just in the match storyline, but in real life. So a lot of this match, it was very meta. And I was down there the whole week, and I got to talk to these guys. It's real. You got to see this match because it's a work match. Don't get me wrong. But that story is very real. He had something that he needed to prove to Trevor.
Yeah, I mean, it's
more than even Trevor wanting it, although it definitely came off to me, privately speaking to him, as somebody who he loves Nick, but he wanted to see something out of him. And I think Nick put a lot of pressure on himself to, and I don't want to give away the match. So I'm not going to say the styles or whatever. I'll just say the first 2 minutes is one of the hottest 2 minutes I've seen.
Yes.
It's unbelievable. And the finishing sequence is awesome. And in between, I don't want to put on my Meltzer hat and my internet hat and give it stars or whatever. It's not my favorite all-time CWF match, but it is a very special match that you should go out of your way to see. And I mean that genuinely. I'm not paid by these people. It's important to note. I put that whole special together after I watched that match.
Another thing is interesting.
So I had company.
Another interesting thing here is that we've seen Trevor Lee taking on a lot of outside entities and having 5-star matches with these outside entities. It's nice to know that he can still come home and fight somebody who's homegrown. Interesting that you put that, and they never have mentioned this, and thank God that they haven't, but Nick started before Trevor. It's interesting that Trevor can come home. He can face a homegrown talent and have the same type of caliber, if not better in some cases. Granted, there were stipulations in this match that contributed to it, but it's still just as good, and it's still just as much, if not more, on par with what we have seen out of Trevor in the last few months. I got to tell you, man, that video package was just freaking awesome. When are you coming? If I'm not going to probably be back at the Sportatorium, sadly, it pains me to say this, until probably the Rumble. Are you coming down for any of the tournament, any of the Weaver Cup?
As of now, no, I won't be able to. It's a lot of time and money, so I have to be careful when I do these things. I think that I will be. My plan is to be at the Rumble, and also I would love if a lot of other fans come too, and I'd like to push for that. But that's sometime hopefully in the next few weeks. I'll be able to like really make a push for that. But I'd love to see a lot of these fans that do shows other than yours, which is a great show. A lot of fans that do shows about this or talk about CWF, a lot of out-of-towners who come at different times. I'd love if everybody could converge on Gibsonville for that weekend.
I will tell you that you talked about doing a fan fest. And
yeah,
at least Grant, that's what Grant said, that you've been pushing to do more fan fests. I agree. One before the Rumble, or at least do one before Battlecade. And I think that they should. This is just me speaking for me. I'm not trying to make a wedge in there, get in the door or anything, but treat it as if it's an actual fan fest. Have panels. Do a panel with you. Do a panel. Me and Jeff is thinking about coming down to Battlecade. I would love nothing more than to have like a Comic-Con-esque panel with me and Jeff talking about CWF and talking about the after show. One thing that kind of, that saddens me about the way we do things is that, we do the show late. I would love nothing more than to be there with a crowd and to actually, instead of go beyond the chat room and be face to face. I mean, I had people coming up to me face to face after Absolute Justice and asking about the show and asking about Jeff, and it was an honor just to have that. And you have people, every time you're in that building, people come up to you, and hell, I'm one of the first ones to come up to you at intermission. I'm a huge fan of Johnny P. So I mean,
thank you, sir.
I think they should have more of a fan fest. I'm in totally agreement with you.
I think it is moving that way, and way, I'm not even giving anything away because nothing is firm, but it's moving in the direction that we've both been talking about. And hopefully we can get it all together because, people have to make plans and people have to get flights and whatever. But There's a lot of cool things that can be done, and it won't be – my idea would be to differentiate it from, like, the thing at the Cronuto Cup, which I had the time of my life.
That was so
and I want
awesome.
to do something that involves CWF. and that they're comfortable with, but doesn't kind of like make them put out any money for anything.
Right.
Kind of a dry run. My whole vision would be sort of a dry run, just to see about the viability and grow it from there. But I would love, because I come from the Northeast, and like ECW would have CyberSlam every year.
Yeah.
And that was something that it organically formed in the same way that I'm trying, myself and Jeremy Bryant, my good friend, have been kind of pushing to do this. I kind of, adopted him because I needed an ally to keep me centered. But it's an organic thing that started that, and then eventually it grew to be something that the company was more involved with, and that was like this huge thing where people descended on a hotel, for a weekend in like, February or April, depending on what year. So I'm hopeful, hands in the prey position, that we can get that together for this year, because I think it would be a lot of fun.
I think it makes more sense to do it before Battlecade than the Rumble, though, because the Battlecade is their WrestleMania. It is their biggest show of the year, so why not do it then? But as you said, flights and everything else. And I want to tell people, I'm not trying to wedge myself in and be a part of the family, as it were, because I even out-talked to Grant off air last week about why we're not the official after show. Because if they were going to do an official after show, it would be like Raw Talk or something like that, and rightfully so.
Right.
And I would expect no less. So, but I mean, I do think that we have people listening to us every week. Maybe, they're not coming out in droves. It's not yet. But I do think, hey, have a panel with you. What is your aspect of this? Or hell, put me, you, and Jeff on the panel if Jeff comes down. I wouldn't mind doing that. I think that people, because you brought up CyberSlam. There's infamous video out there of a panel with Paul Heyman, Raven, and Taz talking about WCW not being around and everything, I would like to see something like that happen. Have a panel, have a Q&A with Stutzy. Pick Stutzy's brain for half an hour, I don't know if he would ever do that, but,
these are all the ideas that I can assure you, they have been batted around. I would be leery of, and I will say to you, I will give you unsolicited advice. Be careful. I want everybody to be involved. Definitely be careful of, and I know that you're not trying to, but I'm saying everybody should be careful of putting themselves front and center.
Out there, yeah.
Because I saw that happen with ECW. I'm not going to name any names, but old school people know exactly who I'm talking about and what I'm talking about. And you will make an idiot of yourself and pretend and convince yourself you are way too much involved. And I don't mean you, I mean the general you.
Well,
so I am very leery of that.
I look at it this way. I'm not affiliated with the promotion, nor would I think I want to be. I'm not in the business. I never will claim to be in the business, despite what some people have said about me. I'm not in the business. I don't think I would want to be in the business. But I do think that, anything that I can do to help this promotion grow and help this get their name out there. You mentioned people don't know who Kane Justice is yet. There's people out there, even though he's with a major company, there's people outside of CWF and outside of PWG that do not know who the real Trevor Lee is yet.
Yeah.
And I've been critical of the way TNA has been booking that guy ever since he first started there, ever since that he was dancing on a damn green piece of tile at that damn Hardy Boys thing. I was like, that's it. It's over for him. They're never going to take him seriously. Not the way CWF does, not the way PWG does. But I think, anything that I can do to get that out there and say, hey, this is the real Trevor Lee. Go to CWF. If you want to see how good he is, go see this. If you want to see other people that are damn good, if you want to see wrestling, hell, it worked with Jeff Edwards just off of go watch the Chip Day Trevor Lee match. He watched it. He wanted to know more. And I was like, okay, start here. And then it evolved into us doing this after show every week. But, John, I want to really thank you for coming on here such short notice and doing this with us.
Thank you, Joe.
I'll let you get back to your editing or get home so you can watch the show, as it were. I'm going to go ahead and let you go here. Sure. But anything else you want to plug? Anything? Tell people. I got your Twitter handle up on screen if people want to follow you. I don't know if you have anything to plug, but the mic is yours if you want to make any final thoughts.
Go watch Nick Richards, Trevor Lee, The Journey. It's on the CWF channel, the CWF Mid-Atlantic YouTube channel. look for more fun things and announcements, so that I'm involved in with them, hopefully. And otherwise, thank you for having me. And I hope next time, I hope I get to meet Jeff, because I like Jeff. I like hearing his thoughts on stuff.
I'll be honest with you, I've never met Jeff in person. So Battlecade would be like the
wow,
opportune
that's
time.
Cool.
Battlecade would be the most opportune time. I mean, so I'm hoping Jeff can make it down for Battlecade in December. I've had to change vacation plans because Battlecade is on the 30th of December. I believe that's what Jeff said. And I was going to be on vacation that week, and I was like, nope, we're coming back on the 30th. Sorry. So I'm not missing Battlecade by hook or by crook. I will be at Battlecade this year. Nothing's keeping me away from that show. So, but anyway, thank you, John, so much for coming on, man. I really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, Joe.
All right, bye-bye. John Philippavich, ladies and gentlemen, documentarian, filmmaker. Go ahead and check him out on Twitter. I got to tell you guys, man, I'm really trying not to spoil the show for people who definitely listen to it or who definitely watch only the YouTube things. But let me see here. And, other things are coming, as far as CWF goes. I can't wait to see how the Weaver Cup unfolds. Honestly, they got so many overseas talent coming in. People from Japan, people from Australia coming in for this Weaver Cup. And I'm glad that tonight we get the TV caught up. The YouTube and the YouTube show and the live shows are caught up. So this Saturday they're going to be in the Sportatorium for Opportunity Knocks on the 15th. I sadly will not be there. I hate the fact that I'm not going to be there. But when it comes to next week on the 19th, we're going to be seeing what they filmed on the 15th and so on, So I'm glad that the TV is finally going to be caught up with it. I'm glad that they're putting tonight's show out there as one big, long 2-hour show. Tonight's after show, it's not going to be as long as it usually is because Jeff has some things that he has to get to. He's informed me of. So we're not going to be going till 3 o'clock in the morning or anything, but we do invite you guys to come back at 11:30. And listen to us live and hear Jeff's thoughts on this and hear my thoughts on it because there's still a lot of things that I have that I wanted to wanted to talk about that I couldn't due to spoiler constraints. And it's tough talking about this with no spoilers. When you've seen it, you know what's going to happen. More so than it is for WWE because, it's WWE spoilers. Nobody cares. Everybody's spoiled about WWE. I mean, it's kind of impossible not to be nowadays. So, I'm really, really excited for this show. I'm really excited to see what the commentary is like. I do want to talk a little bit today. There was a lot that happened in the pro wrestling business today. A lot that happening. I mean, NXT is taping right now down in Florida. GFW had a press conference with Jeff Jarrett. They announced today that due to the stuff that happened down in Orlando, Alberto El Patron has been suspended. He is still the GWF champion, but he's been suspended indefinitely by the company until this whole thing can get cleared up. For those who don't know, they had tapings last week, and and then they stayed after the tapings. Del Rio and Paige did so because they wanted to go to the theme parks down there. They wanted to enjoy Universal, whatever. Incident happens at the airport, and we played the audio this past Monday on PWAM, on Monday night PWAM with me and AC. Invite you guys to go back and watch that. But some stuff happened in a bar, and they've detained Del Rio on a suspicion of domestic violence. I don't know if Del Rio is still in detainment. I don't know if he's still there with the cops. I'm assuming he's been let go by now. Paige sends out this tweet going, somebody threw a drink on Del Rio and leave us alone. And then audio comes out that that's not the case. So thank you, Electric City Saint, there in the chat room. So then all of a sudden, audio gets out from a fan, and this fan, she just got it, and this is what I've talked about, people whipping out their fucking cameras, man, and whipping out their cell phones and film it. Why do you gotta film this shit? Why do you gotta record this? And this woman is still trying to remain I'm a huge fan. You can hear her say on the audio, I'm a huge fan. By the way, I'm a huge fan of you guys. But I'm going to sell this audio to TMZ and laugh all the way to the bank while I'm a huge fan of you guys. So the audio comes out despite that, and it makes Paige out to be a liar. And then Paige gives this detailed account of what happened. And why WWE has not stepped in on this, I'll never know. But Paige typed this out on Twitter today. Alberto didn't want me to say full story because he didn't want people to know, and I didn't want people to know that I threw a drink on him. But the full story is, I had a cell phone call saying my uncle's in a bad way. I'm crying outside the restaurant. I go in, and Alberto is hugging me. I'm a little sensitive, and we start bickering about something so small. I say I'm leaving, and he says something that I won't write on here, but it wasn't nice. Well, we know what was said. He said, I think she has an uncle that's in the hospital fighting for his life, and Alberto says to her, or so the reports I've heard say, that he wishes death on the guy. So, according to Paige, I won't write on here, but it wasn't nice, and I, even though I shouldn't have done it, I threw a drink in his face because I was angry. Again, shouldn't have done it, and it was in front of a lot of people. I walk out. He follows me a few seconds later and gets the cops and security, and a crazy lady decides to leave whatever she is doing to follow us and invade our privacy in the complete low way. Only low life in the completely low way that only low life people would do. And she's right. What gives you the right to follow these people? Who the fuck are you to follow somebody like that? Just like, everybody's so quick to whip out a fucking camera nowadays. I don't get it. Anyways, she says, it was me who was being held for battery charges because I threw a drink on him. No, he never touched me, and no, I never hit him. With a glass 3 times like the internet in all their glory is making out. It's complete ridiculous how one story could spiral out of control. Oh, and guess what, internet? He smelled like beer because I threw a beer on him. Makes sense. Nothing more, nothing less, she says. No one got arrested. There's no mugshots, no charges, nothing. The horrible, disgusting human being of a lady decided she wanted to make money out of our misfortune. I wish people would give us the privacy we deserve. I know we won't get it, but I wish that would happen. Yeah. I love how she says this horrible, disgusting human being of a lady decided she wanted to make money out of our misfortune. This is the same woman who on the audio goes, I'm a huge fan, by the way. What you should have said is, I'm recording this and I'm going to sell it to TMZ and make bank off of it. Thank you for the big fat paycheck. Electric City Saint on YouTube says Paige and Del Rio are in the danger zone. Got to get themselves away from each other. It's a really toxic relationship. Here's what kills me. There's all these people on Twitter. Oh, Paige, we know what it's like to get out of that kind of a relationship because we've all been there. And if anybody else is in this situation, here's the domestic violence help hotline. Meh. How much money does this woman have in the bank? She's making more money than you and I are, folks. Presumably. How hard is it? You're in a fucking airport. If you wanted to get away from the guy, go to the ticket counter, hop on a flight, and get back to England. Why would your brothers put out on Twitter that they've seen you with bruises, random bruises and shit? Why would your brothers put out on Twitter, and this isn't the first time they said this, that they want you back in England safe and sound, and they want you away from this mess? It's not that hard yes, it is hard for some women to walk away from shit like that. As I said to AC Monday night when we were doing this, my mother was a victim of domestic abuse by my father for years. My dad used to get drunk and beat the fuck out of her. Finally, after 10 years of it, she got the courage to walk away. But in her case, so it's not as easy for everybody. It took my mother 10 years. But for somebody, I'm assuming, unless they have a joint checking account and Del Rio has control of all her money, she's making her downside guarantee while she's out. WWE hasn't cut her from the payroll. So I'm assuming that, hey, you're in the airport, and unless you are being detained, and unless you are the one, causing the fracas, and that they won't let you leave, I'm assuming you could go to the ticket counter and go, when's your next flight to England leave? I'm assuming you got a phone that has Twitter or something, or Facebook, that you can message your family members and go, hey, I'm on the first flight home. Can somebody pick me up from the airport? I'm trying to get away from this asshole. And Del Rio's no saint here either, folks. This is a guy who gets on drunken ravages I shouldn't say drunken, because I don't know what state of mind he's in, but here's a guy who goes on Twitter and goes, come down here, New Day. Come to my restaurant, perro. I'll fuck you up. Sit down. Sit down. I have a character that I do here on the network, the Stupid Mark. Stupid Mark. That's Del Rio now. Del Rio's the Stupid Mark. Come down here, New Day. I'll fuck you up. Come to my restaurant. I gotta say, both of these two are the Melvin Dassies, if you ask me. Paige and Del Rio both are Melvin Dassies. And here it is, unfolding. Right before our lives, right here in the tabloids. It's a tabloid drama, folks. I don't have a damn bit of sympathy for either one of them. The only thing I could say is if she really wanted to get away, and another rumor is that she says to the part of the audio is her telling them that he's been up doing cocaine for 2 days straight. If I'm GFW and I heard that rumor, I'm calling him up going, we're sending doctors to where you are at. Inside of 15 minutes, they'll be there. You're going to piss in the cup or you're fired. It's that simple. But no, Jeff Jarrett and everybody, we'll just suspend him. And another thing, you tell him your girlfriend is under contract to another company. Her being here puts her in breach of contract. It puts us in the way of corporate espionage or corporate tampering. We're violating the law by having her backstage. If I'm GFW, she's no longer allowed backstage. We don't want her anywhere near Universal Studios while this is going on, and you have security. If she shows up, you have security. Keep her off premises. Del Rio's the highest paid person there. He thinks that he has GFW by the balls because of the contract. Newsflash. Ed Nordholm, pay the guy the remainder of his contract and say good day to you, sir. Because here's the truth about Alberto Del Rio. Alberto Del Rio is not in WWE right now because he never drew a fucking dime for them. He never drew a dime as far as merchandise. They tried to make him the Latin American JBL and it backfired. Nobody wanted to see him. And outside the ring, he has such a bad fucking attitude and comes off as such a goddamn dick that it makes me wonder why Paige even had a soft spot for this motherfucker in the first place. And then they get on the press conference this afternoon and tell people, here's our statement. Nobody asked questions about this. And be damned if the first person did not ask a question about it. You really think that you can hop on a press conference, tell people don't ask questions about X, Y, and Z when it's the most clickbaited, it's clickbait is what it is. It's the most clickbaited topic on all the major dirt sheets, and yet we're not as journalists. They're lucky I wasn't on there. Because I damn sure would have asked it. It's our job as podcasters and dare say wrestling journalists to ask. It drives business. Good Lord. That's all. I mean, I don't get it, man. I just don't. And then you have Jeff Jarrett. They're talking about how they went over to England or went over to India. They had 20 agents for 2 hour shows, and he talks about how he likes Jane. He likes Gregory Helms, and he likes Pat Kenny, and he likes Simon. He likes Al Snow. And that they were released because of monetary reasons. And then Gregory Helms gets on there and goes, Jeff Jarrett would rather climb a tree to tell a lie than stand on the ground and tell the truth. Something ain't right there. Something's stirring the Kool-Aid on that one, man. Got a caller that rightfully asked, hey, has the Broken Hardys gimmick been purchased? Is that IP now owned by the Hardy Boys? Jeff Jarrett says no. This coming from PW Insider. Rebecca Hardy stated this afternoon on Twitter that there has been a deal in place between Anthem Media and the Hardys that would allow the Hardys to utilize the Broken Hardy gimmick going forward. In seeking to confirm Hardy's social media claims, PW Insider spoke with several sources who, under condition of anonymity, stated that all sides agreed to a deal in principle. And a deal that is believed Billy Corgan helped mediate. So Billy Corgan is back in TNA, is back helping this now? What does Billy Corgan have to do with this all? Why is Billy Corgan playing mediator? PW Insider has also been told that all sides would have released a statement wishing each other well and would have agreed to no longer comment on each other publicly. The Hardys would have been able to use the broken gimmick, and one would assume Anthem Media would have received some sort of payment in exchange. Rebby Hardy also put out on Twitter that the part of the deal was that if Rebby ever put out anything bad about Anthem Media or TNA or Impact or GFW, whatever they're calling themselves this week, that it would be $5,000 a tweet. Yes, I've watched Glow. I will be doing a review of that at some point in time. I will be doing a review. Probably get around to doing that next week sometime, actually. Because I have watched it. I just don't know how much I want to say about it because there's not really, too much to say about it. Jim Cornette hated it. Surprise, surprise. Oof. WWE has not been involved with this deal with the Hardys. The deal was then drafted by the Hardys lawyers and sent to Ed Nordholm from Anthem Media to sign off on. Several weeks have gone by without any response from Nordholm and without any indication that the agreement was actually going to be signed. So it's been sitting on Nordholm's desk. One source stated that when Nordholm received the agreement in writing, he claimed that it wasn't what the two sides agreed upon, but confirmed that since that point, there have been no additional communications with the Hardy side. So basically, if Ed Nordholm does not sign this agreement, the next step is for the Hardy Boys to seek little legal action. A number of sources we spoke with today believe that unless Nordholm signs off on the agreement, the Hardys will have no last resource but to file a lawsuit seeking ownership of the gimmick. We spoke with one source today who believes the decision made by the company during the time period Dixie Carter owned Impact Wrestling were technically breaches of the Hardy Boys contract, which appears to be the strategy the family would use as their strategy. Jesus. That's a mess, man. That's a mess. The whole damn company is still a mess. Anyway. Got a quick spoiler here from NXT. Kyle O'Reilly just made a debut in NXT. That was coming a while. The rumors were heading back for weeks on that one. I love Rebby Hardy's thing is, why are you lying, Jeff Jarrett? How about, why are you lying? Marty Bell and Mercedes Martinez will be competing in the Mae Young Classic. UK competitors Kaylee Ray and Ashia Raymond have also been announced for the tournament. Medusa will be the backstage reporter for the tournament, while Lita and JR. Hope he does a better job with that than he did New Japan. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here. I want to thank you guys so much for watching here on the pre-show. I want to thank John Filipavage, Johnny P, for coming on. You can go to cwfworldwide.com. I believe that's the URL. Let me check that out. CWF. I believe that's the correct URL. Yeah. If you go to cwfworldwide.com, you'll be taken to the YouTube page. And we are just about 10 minutes away from Absolute Justice being released. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the pre-show here. Go ahead and get yourself some popcorn, grab yourself a cold drink, go to the bathroom, because you're not going to want to leave or pause any of this. And I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening. We'll be right back here at 11:30 for the after show. And we will see you then.